Today, going over to the business blunder of the day, you have Ram trucks being recalled due to the EPA, affecting potentially 600,000 Ram pickup trucks. Now, this comes to us, and they note it from NPR, which, granted, they're a little more skewed than usual. And they note that the Department of Justice released details about a settlement with engine manufacturer Cummins Inc. that includes a mandatory recall of 600,000 Ram trucks that the Cummins remedy environmental damage it caused when it illicitly installed emissions control software in several thousand vehicles, skirting emission testing. Good example of rules for thee, but not for me. Just go buy a government vehicle off the surplus market and kind of see how they're configured. Hint, you're neutered, they're not. Now, they noted that Cummins is accused of circumventing emission testing through devices that can bypass or defeat emissions controls. They note that the engine manufacturer will pay $1.675 billion civil penalty to settle the claims previously announced in December, the largest ever secured since the Clean Air Act, in addition to its $325 million on remedies. Looks like that brings the company's total penalty for the violation to more than $2 billion per the announcement when officials from the U.S. Justice Department, Environmental Protection Agency, California Air Resources Board, and the California Attorney General called it a landmark in a call with reporters. The California AG said, quote, "Let this settlement be a lesson. We won't let greedy corporations cheat their way to success and run over the health and well-being of consumers and our environment along the way," unquote. That's from California AG Ron Bonta. Interesting name. Almost as ridiculous as something being called topping. Oh, wait. Nevertheless, they note that over the course of a decade, hundreds of thousands of Ram 2500 and 3500 pickup trucks manufactured by Stellantis were equipped with Cummins diesel engines that incorporated the bypassing engine control software. This includes 630,000 installed with illegal defeat devices and 330,000 equipped with an undisclosed auxiliary emission control devices. They know that officials could not estimate how many of those vehicles are currently on the road, but Cummins, which has maintained that he has not done anything wrongdoing, must undergo a nationwide recall of more than 600,000 vehicles. Now, again, there are many business blunders here, and kind of feel for Cummins considering they're a diesel manufacturer, and for years the government has a war on diesel. Well, I should clarify that on consumers' ability to have reliable diesel engines, as they bolt on more things to, in the short term, some might argue help the environment on a very small scale, but I would argue you also detrimentally make the vehicles less and less reliable, thereby making them disposable. And that's why a good old diesel from decades ago, those things are still humming and roaring pretty good. More recently, not so much. You have to include a bunch of things like DEET and all. It's one of those things. A wise man by the name of Thomas Sowell once said, "There's no such thing as solutions, only trade-offs." And when it comes to this diesel manufacturer, I mean, their back is up against the wall. And all these companies are really hurting, especially the American companies. I should say the legacy American companies, the big three. The big three being General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis. Ford, I think it's fiscal Q4 or 2023, they noted that they might be fined over $1 billion by the EPA if they don't increase the fleet average of their vehicles and decrease their tailpipe emissions, aka destroying and killing ICE engines in favor of EVs, which, again, EVs damage the environment in different ways. You just look up on Google or Brave search an image of a lithium mine. They're not all great for the environment, but a lot of people, unfortunately, are very short-sighted in terms of, I forget the acronym, but there's something called "Not in my back door" or "Not in my backyard," and in that case, they just say, "Oh yeah, it's happening in another country. It's fine. We can do that. Our land is nice and clean and fancy here." But it'll be interesting to see. Again, these companies aren't really coming together. They don't appear to be doing any really effective marketing or really effective legislating or lobbying to kind of let the average consumers know that vehicles are becoming less reliable, in part because of these different emission standards, all while China and India pollute more than you can possibly fathom. But at the end of the day, it seems like the average American consumer is the one that is being bullied the most. And also at the end of the day, you can debate what's the long-term ramifications either way. It's an instance where it's forcing these vehicles to become less reliable, and I don't think a lot of people realize how much government interference there is and how much scrutiny there is. And of course, this makes the company look terrible because, again, they did circumvent these devices made it so that the vehicle falsely appeared to adhere to this act. And I don't know if they should have just legislated let people know about this act before the act was passed. It looks like a couple of these acts were passed a little while ago. The Clean Air Act, one of the acts that they claim that they violated, though, again, part of the settlement is that they're not admitting any wrongdoing. It also means they don't have to spend years in court. That's why, in terms of settlements, that's why there's a lot of pros and cons to them. But the pros is you don't spend a lot of time in court. The headline is usually short-lived because, again, if you're in court, you're getting updates on the cases, you're getting news. There's a lot of advantages to settling, and you also don't admit wrongdoing. Now, they know that one of the acts that they may have violated was the Clean Air Act, or I should say allegedly violated, which is a federal law enacted in 1963 to reduce and control air pollution around the nation, requiring car and engine manufacturers to comply with the emission limits to protect the environment and human health. And they also note that, trying to find the specific act, because California California wants to make gas engines illegal, I believe, by 2030. Was it 35? Now, they also passed a law to ban gas generators. So once your Tesla goes bad and you can't charge it because they don't know how to manage their electric grid, well, then you can't even charge it using a generator because those are illegal. Or rather, the new sale of that is illegal. I'm sure they'll probably go door to door and confiscate those machines sometime in the future. It's not a real possibility. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, it's gotta be rough being a diesel manufacturer. The main product you make, which used to be all reliable and all strong, used to have great towing capacity, and it's just being regulated more and more and more, and it's being regulated out of existence. So it'll be interesting to see does Cummins start to increase their research and development into electric vehicle and hybrid technologies. It'll be interesting to see, but again, this whole thing that certainly is the business blunder of the day. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in. Again, trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of January, so click that button. I greatly appreciate it. Also, leaving a comment is a great way to give me some additional feedback. Let me know how I can make the show better and better. Also, a thumbs up, great way to help with the YouTube algorithm, get sure the video gets shared more and more. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.